If you're having a hard time affording aviation, hear me when I say you are not alone. I haven't flown my entire life, and in the seasons that I haven't, it's been due in large part to finances. Aviation is expensive, but in this video, I hope this is an encouragement to you. I want to cover the steps that I took in my own life to begin to be able to afford aviation, and there's steps that I think should be very repeatable for anyone watching this. So let's make aviation more affordable through these steps. Step number one is to view money objectively. Here in the United States and elsewhere around the world, but particularly in the US, sometimes we can wrap up our entire self-worth or our identity in money. How much money we're able to make, how much money we have, how much money we don't have, how much money do we have versus someone else. It's a really bad spiral. And so, especially for the context of this video, I really just want to try to view money as an object. It's a tool, it's a number, it's a resource. It has nothing to do with your own identity. So if you're thinking, gosh, I really want to fly, but I just can't, I'm seeing other people fly, then I feel bad about myself. Definitely don't feel bad about yourself. I haven't been able to fly my entire life because of money. So let's just view it as a number. Really what we're trying to do here is just solve a puzzle. We're going to solve a numerical puzzle to try to figure out how to afford aviation. So let's view it as an object and not as an identity. Step two is to start with the end in mind. We need a number as to what we're actually trying to afford on a monthly basis. Sometimes it's easy just to think, well, flying's expensive and I can't afford it. And the analysis starts and stops with that. But really we need a number that we're solving for. And that can be a different number based upon if you're renting or owning or training. All those things are different. So you need to solve for that. If you're renting, obviously that's easy. Just figure out the hourly rate of the place you're going to be renting from and see how many hours a month you'd like to fly. One note on here is that if you can only fly like 1 hour a month or something, then eventually you're going to you have to think about, okay, well, how much do I have to fly to be legal versus how much do I have to fly to be proficient and safe? And oftentimes those are two different amounts. So you want to be flying enough to make sure that you're proficient and safe. I'd want to be flying at least a few hours every month so I can have some consistency in the cockpit, but ultimately that decision is up to you. If you're trying to decide how much you need to train, maybe to get your private, well, you need to figure out how much that's going to cost. I have a video I'll link up in the corner. It talks about kind of the average range to get your private. And so that can be a resource to you. And then if you're trying to own an airplane, there's the upfront purchase costs, and then there's all the ongoing costs, which are oftentimes overlooked or underestimated. And so I've got another video, again, I'll link up in the corner, that talks about 7 commonly entry-level airplanes and what they cost to purchase and what they cost to own and operate based on my own experience. So if you need numbers for any one of those situations to try to figure out how much you need on a monthly basis, I think those could be good starting points. Step 3 is to spend 1 to 3 months tracking all of your expenses. And you don't even have to put the pressure on yourself to change your spending behaviors during this time. You just want to get in the habit of tracking it and reporting it and getting a repeatable way to be able to view every month where your money is actually going. There's a number of ways you can do this, but for me, I like to use mint.com to categorize all of my bank transactions, and then I export that data from Mint into Excel, where then I look at it monthly so I can see the trends of everywhere that my money is going. So you want to start by just creating a process, whatever is going to work best for you. Before we start tweaking things or trying to cut back, we just want to get in the habit of having visibility on it. That's step 3. Step 4, now that we have some financial data to work with, is we want to see where we can cut back. I think in that exercise, you're going to notice that there's a lot of unavoidable expenses, like we got to sleep somewhere, we got to eat, we got to do all those things. But then there's going to be extra expenses that you might just can do away with altogether, or maybe it's some expenses that you need a certain level of it, like like eating out or something, but you can trim it back because it's really out of control. That was an area for me that was really enlightening, how much I was eating out and how easy it is to rack up the expenses in that category. So we want to start seeing where we can trim back in this step. Step 5 is to decide where to invest. And I don't just mean investing in the stock market or retirement or things like that. In this step, you really want to take inventory of where you want to spend your financial resources, but also your time and your attention and your energy. All of those are limited resources in nature. And so we all have the responsibility and the choice to decide where we are dedicating those things. And so just like flying could be something that you want to pursue, and your finances might reflect that, and your time might reflect that, your marriage or your faith or your relationships with your kids or your friends, those could also, and probably should be very real investments. And so I try to view flying as kind of a piece of a larger puzzle here, a piece of a larger pie, that flying is something I want to invest in, and not just spend money like as an expense on, but actually invest in, because I get a big return on that. Personally, I get a huge return on it because I come alive when I get to fly more. My wife knows that about me. I enjoy life more when I get to go watch a sunset and enjoy creation a little bit more. And so I don't just view that as an expense, but it's an investment. Now, not all of my money is going into flying. That would be a poor investment if all of my money was going there. But my money is also going towards the other things that I care about, whether it's my marriage or my relationships, like those things. And so I try to view that as an overall picture and say, okay, of the money that I have left from the previous step, I get to decide where it's going to be allocated and invested. And so, I view flying as an investment and not necessarily an expense in the traditional sense of the word. And step 6, which you may or may not need to do, would be increasing your income. If coming out of that last step, you're thinking to yourself, gosh, there's a lot of places that I'm needing to dedicate my money, and I don't have enough left over to dedicate towards flying, you're definitely not alone. We might just have to find other ways to bring up our income to be able to fit in flying. I know that's easier said than done. If you're in a traditional salary or even hourly role, you can't just magically increase your income. Even if you're in a commission-based role, creating more commission and more sales doesn't just happen, right? So we might have to think about other ways to supplement our income that could be outside of our traditional employment. So for me, that's been side hustles over the course of time. And what I've really gotten into over the last few years has been creating niche websites and YouTube channels that make money fairly passively. But there's a number of different ways that you could create extra income for yourself. And it's a tough blend of trying to make sure that it's another source of income, but doesn't take all of your time, such that the time you would be spending flying is actually just spent making money. So it's a delicate balance there. But if you'd like more information on kind of what I do, I'm actually going to be putting out a resource that talks about, how I make niche websites and how they make money and things. And so I won't spend time in this video talking about it, but there's another video I'll link up in the corner and down in the description that talks about this new course that I'm going to be coming out with. So I hope that could be a resource to you. And finally, step 7 is don't throw caution to the wind. If after going through all these steps, you still can't afford aviation right now, but you're working towards it, don't rush it. I wouldn't spend your money to where you can only fly 1 hour per month, or you're spending all of your residual money on only flying and nothing else. Just personally, I wouldn't do that. And so I would encourage you to find other ways in the meantime, while you go through those other 6 steps, to enjoy aviation. There's a lot of other ways to do it. So you could go join an EAA chapter to where, you're getting to meet local pilots and maybe get a ride with them. Occasionally, you're kind of plugged into the aviation community. You could even pay for a discovery flight at your local flight school once a month or every couple months, just to kind of be getting in the cockpit and just keeping your attention span there and your involvement. You could play Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's an awesome new resource that is just really good. So that would be an option to you. You could start studying for your private. There's a number of ways to still be involved in aviation, short of actually getting your license right now or buying an airplane right now. So don't throw caution to the wind. There are a lot of other ways to stay plugged in. I want to offer one more piece of encouragement here. As you go through these steps, this might be a little uncomfortable for you. This might be flexing a new muscle or learning a new skill that you haven't really done in the past. And so I would just encourage you to extend to yourself a lot of patience and a lot of grace. I mean, whether it's in relation to flying or any other part of your life, going through this exercise of just having visibility over where your money is being spent and knowing where you want to intentionally invest your money, but also your time, resources, effort, and energy, that's a really healthy thing. And so while it might be uncomfortable at first, I think it's ultimately going to enrich in your life in many ways. So definitely be patient with yourself, give yourself a lot of grace, and just keep moving through it. And I hope that you'll be able to better afford aviation, but even if not, I think it's still going to bear fruit in your life. So I hope this video was helpful to you in your aviation journey and beyond. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next Monday.